Today, we are digging into a really significant legal case out of the Philippines, Salonga versus Paño. This one really pushes the boundaries, asking some tough questions about the power of the state versus the rights of an individual. It's a fascinating story about how an accusation gets made, what it takes to prove it, and the fundamental right to due process. So let's paint a picture. The year is 1980. Manila is on edge, completely shaken by a series of bombings. In the middle of all this chaos, a man named Victor Burns Lovely gets hurt by a bomb he was supposedly making. Then, things take a wild turn. The suspect's brother goes on national television and points the finger at a very well-known opposition figure, Senator Jovito Salonga. Before you know it, the senator is being arrested in his hospital room. All right, to really get a handle on this case, we're going to break it down step by step, just like a legal digest. We'll look at the facts of the case, the main legal question, what the court decided, and why they decided it. Then we'll cover the lasting principles and the final outcome. Let's get into it. Okay, first up, the accusation. Let's walk through the events that led to the senator's arrest, strictly from the prosecution's perspective. This is their story. So the state's case really started with just a few things: a key suspect, a photo of him with Senator Salonga at a party, and a TV statement from the suspect's brother. Believe it or not, that was enough for an arrest order to be issued. The senator was taken from his hospital bed, where he was being treated for severe asthma, and then moved to a military prison cell. And all of this happened before any detailed formal charges were even filed. So after months of detention and a preliminary investigation, the entire complex situation boils down to one single fundamental question. And this is the question that made its way all the way to the Supreme Court. In plain English, the court was asking, looking at all the evidence the prosecution has, is there actually enough here to charge Senator Salonga with a crime as serious as subversion? Is there what's called prima facie evidence? That means, is there enough evidence that, at first glance, would make you think a crime was committed and Salonga was likely the one who did it? This is a really important safeguard to protect regular citizens from being dragged through a trial for no good reason. So you have this huge question on the table. How did the Supreme Court answer it? Let's get right to the ruling. Wow. The court did not mince words. Their conclusion was blunt. The evidence was utterly insufficient. This wasn't even a close call. Now, the verdict itself is powerful, but what's even more fascinating is the why. Why did the court find the evidence so completely lacking? Let's dig into that. Okay, this is really the core of the whole decision. We're going to see how the court took the prosecution's case and just systematically took it apart, piece by piece. This reasoning is what makes the case so important today. Let's just quickly touch on that term again. Prima facie evidence. Think of it like this. The evidence has to be strong enough that if the other side said absolutely nothing, you'd still have enough to get a conviction. It's a pretty high bar, and it's there for a reason, to prevent flimsy accusations from turning into full-blown trials. You might think a case against a prominent senator would be built on a mountain of evidence. But nope. The entire thing pretty much boiled down to the statements from just two people. The whole prosecution was writing on their testimony. So, naturally, the court took a very close look at both. First up, Colonel Diego. His testimony was tossed out pretty quickly. The court called it purely hearsay, with no probative value. Why? Because he didn't have any personal knowledge of the events. He was just repeating what other people, like Victor Lovely, had told him. And in court, that's a huge no-no. So, with one witness gone, the entire weight of the prosecution's case fell on the shoulders of their star witness, Victor Lovely. His sworn statement was the key. He claimed that Salonga's house was the agreed-upon meeting spot for him to get bomb materials from another man. And this is where the whole thing just crumbles. The court did something really simple. They compared Lovely's official sworn statement to a TV interview he gave a few weeks later. And guess what? His story changed. In the sworn statement, he implicates Senator Salonga in the exchange, but in the TV interview, Salonga's role in that specific moment just vanishes. It's a massive contradiction, and it destroyed his credibility. So with the witness testimony in tatters, all the prosecution had left was this idea that Salonga was guilty just because his house was used as a meeting spot. The court completely rejected this contact point theory. They called it too tenuous a basis, basically way too thin to support an indictment. And they pointed out how dangerous a precedent that would be. I mean, think about it. It would put every citizen at risk of being implicated in a crime just because someone dropped by their house. Now, the court used this case to do more than just rule on Salonga's situation. They took the opportunity to lay down some fundamental principles, some key doctrines, and that's really why this case is still studied so closely today. They made a few things crystal clear. First, the whole point of a preliminary investigation is to act as a shield to protect innocent people from being unfairly prosecuted. Second, they emphasize that freedom of expression is a preferred right, meaning it stands on a higher level than many others. And this means that political debate, even harsh criticism of the government, is essential in a democracy. They did draw a line, though, between just advocating for an idea and actively trying to incite immediate violence. To really drive the point home, the court borrowed this powerful quote. It's this idea that true freedom of thought isn't about protecting the ideas we all agree with. It's about fiercely protecting the right for people to express the ideas we hate. That's a profound thought, isn't it? All right, so we're at the end. Let's look at the final judgment, the disposition of the case. And right here, there's one last pretty surprising twist in the story. So get this. While the Supreme Court is in the middle of writing this landmark decision, the prosecution itself goes to the lower court and moves to drop all the charges against Senator Salonga. Just like that, the case is withdrawn. From a legal standpoint, this makes the Supreme Court's case moot and academic. There's technically nothing left for them to rule on. But, and this is the crucial part, the Supreme Court decided to release its full decision anyway. They said they had a symbolic function to perform. Their job wasn't just to decide this one case, but to use it as an opportunity to educate, to set down clear, guiding principles for all future lawyers and judges on how to protect constitutional rights. It was a lesson in due process for the whole country. And that really leaves us with a final thought to chew on. The way this case ended shows that sometimes the legal process, the detailed reasoning, and the principles at stake are just as important, maybe even more important, than the final verdict. This decision serves as a timeless lesson in defending liberty, especially when faced with the enormous power of the state.